Alrighty, I've logged into the system, and what you see before you is a very, very simple dashboard, and something that's key about the demo I'm about to perform. I am a very powerful user, and I've got just about all the features and functions possible turned on for that user. You will have different types of users in your organization. Folks that just need to log in and see the types of contracts that are relevant to them. All they might need to see is I need to request a new agreement, and here are the agreements in place that my name are on them, and that's it. The more powerful users might have different roles and needs, and different menu options as well as records and functions will be available to them. So here's an example of a view for a very simple user, somebody who has access to their contracts, expiring agreements, and this dashboard content can be further configured by these end users. So I might go in and tell the system, I want to look further out at expiring agreements. I want to look out 360 days in time. Go ahead and click OK, and instantly I've changed my dashboard view, and now I've got quite a lot of agreements. I probably want to, and notice I have some content here that I didn't have expanded. Our company news and announcements, and this is all your content. Just like the sites out there like my MSN, my Yahoo, my Google, I can, based upon what I'm interested in, set up a dashboard. I can prescribe these dashboards out to end users and then further allow users to make changes and additions if I trust them to do so. Okay, so here's a look again at a very simple dashboard. I can also do some searching from here. A more complex dashboard I set up, I've got some more categorical dashboards, a procurement as well as a sales side dashboard. If we take a look at our procurement dashboard, I've got some procurement reports set up to flow here. Active contracts by supplier, contracts that are late to be executed. Here's my to-do list, and of course, this is now filtering down specifically our buy-side contracts because I'm on a procurement dashboard, and contracts by commodity. Okay, so we've got some examples here. And if I were to click Create, I can create procurement contracts. If I head over to my Sales Contracting tab, well, now I can get a look at active sales agreements by owner. Sales contract requests with close dates. When are those contracts going to get signed? Sales management loves this dashboard, whereas somebody in procurement really wouldn't care about these metrics. So different ways to track information across the different types of agreements. Okay, and if I were to click Create here on the Sales Contracting tab, well, I'd be creating sales contracts only. So again, filter down for the users so they just see what they need to see in the system. Now, one of the more busy dashboards I set up, because I wanted it to be very powerful, is the dashboard that I set up for my legal folks here. So if we go to the legal tab, check it out. We've got a lot going on here. We've got a calendar of events, a to-do list, projects that we're keeping an eye on, active negotiations by their owner, contract creation status, so I know what's coming down the pike in the pipeline. Also, this one is a particular favorite of legal, contract clause usage. So of our standard contract terms, right down to that clause level, how often are they being edited from standard, substituted completely, or left unchanged? If we notice a certain term is always being negotiated away from standard, we might want to look at reverting to a fallback, cut ourselves down some cycle time. So you've got visibility to things that you likely haven't seen before. Also from my legal dashboard, access to the clause library with a single click, all the prefab reports that we provide, which are very detailed and easy to modify and save as different reports, and then an overall knowledge area. So lots of different things that can be shown here. One thing I'd like to point out, these displays are data that's being pushed out by the very powerful reporting engine. So let's take a look at some of that analysis. If I were to click and take a look at more detail, I want to see these active negotiations by their owner. Show me. So I can click directly on it, drill right into it. There I could actually have filtered down and done some different querying. Well, so now I'm looking at this as a table. Here's the owner, and then the projects are grouped beneath the owner, and then we've got some subtotal and totals going on for the contract value here. Well, this looks good, but I might want to make some changes. For example, well, let's look here. We've got filtering we can do on things like regions, owners, organizations. So here I've got 17 contracts on file with MindStaff. If I click on MindStaff on that little field browser, that query engine on the left, I'm quickly adjusting the view, and all I'm looking at are the contracts with that supplier. But let's go back and look at all of the contracts again. I might want to pull supplier in, drag, drop, let that go, and now I'm looking at these grouped by supplier. If I take a look at my chart, I've got a different display now. Now I'm looking at active negotiations by supplier, and I could actually do an edit and do a save as, and save this out as a modified report. I can also make a couple of changes if I'd like to. Maybe I want to look at this in columns instead of a bar chart, and perhaps I'll look at that in a 3D perspective. Very nice, and then maybe add that to the dashboard. Also, even though we integrate very nicely to Microsoft Word for contract negotiation, we've also integrated very deeply with Excel, so you can do some detailed analysis on what's going on across the contracts. And so here what you see coming up is, well, here's the raw data, but if you notice the tabs down below, the system is packaging all of that data into some very sleek boardroom quality pivot table Excel reports. And as you know, once you're in Excel and you're at this level, you can now do graphing and charting to heart's content. Not that it wasn't powerful already in the Ariba interface, but even more powerful. And there's a boardroom quality pivot table complete with the pick lists. So, very, very powerful dashboarding and analysis to keep your eye on what's going on. Also, searching, something that is really critical. Let's throw out what we did there. What's it like to log in and do a lookup in the system? So, maybe I just want to do a lookup for contracts that happen to have the word sample in their title. Oh, hang on, let's make sure we're searching for the right thing here. Let's look for a buy-side contract that has the word sample in its title. Notice the saved searches. Procurement contracts, with one click, I can look at search results. And so if I build a search today that says, find me any agreements that expire within the next week that have a value greater than $100,000, I run that search 3 weeks from now. It's looking at a snapshot a week out from them. So it's, as data changes, the results of those saved searches will change. So you're not saving the results, you're saving the search itself. Each user can do this on their own. So again, I'll just search for any contracts that have the word sample in their title. Just enter in what I'm searching for, click search, and I'm greeted by the results. Now, what you see here is a very user-friendly search interface. Now, the search filters, the fields to search on, can be used in combination, and they're based on your configuration. What do you track against your different types of agreements? I can actually head over here and choose to search on any other fields that are searchable, or just add a field. For example, perhaps it's important for me to know what commodity the contract is for, so I can, with a single quick click, add commodity, and the next time I log in and conduct a search, commodity will be there for me. Let's do another search. Very quickly, I want to search for any contracts that expire between the dates of today and let's go a year out, that happen to have a contract value between $10,000 and $100,000. Okay, so contracts expiring between these two dates that have a value between those two values. Let's see if those can, okay, so we found 3 contracts that meet that criteria. Now, within those 3 contract records, and these house a lot of data and information and documents, if we use the keyword area of the search, this lets us search on the actual text within the documents themselves. So I'm going to see if any of the contracts that expire between these two dates that have a value between A and B, do any of them have the word confusion within the contract document or documents? And you can actually type in a phrase, a partial word. This will work with any Microsoft Office documents, any PDF documents that have the OCR or paper capture, any PDFs that are actually created within the system itself using our PDF generation functionality do have the the optical character recognition. Lo and behold, 1 out of the 3 did have it. I kind of planted an Easter egg there, and I negotiated the governing law from the state of California to the state of confusion. If we drill in here, we would find that out. We could either open up the contract or search within it if it's a very busy contract project. Okay, so a lot of very, very powerful functionality to present information to your users quickly and easily, which is very important. You need that easy button or folks won't come to it. Let's go ahead and get into the business process. Let's get into the creation and negotiation of contracts and take that process through and see how powerful the system really is. So what I'm going to do is start off as that more minion type of user out there on the fringes who just needs to do a contract request. I'm a buyer and I need to request a new deal. So I'll say create contract request, and then I'm greeted by a very simple interface. Just going to call it I need a contract. Okay, that's the name of it. And then here they can explain what they might need. I'll make this a test just so we can, well, no, let's not make it a test. Let's go full bore. Now, the elements that you see here, these are, some of them are important, system functions like expiration date. If it is a type of contract that expires, you probably wouldn't want to fool with it. But all subject to your configuration and based upon different types of business process, what do you need that end user to fill in? You choose what to make mandatory. Notice in this case, for this end user, all they need to say is give that contract a name. I'm going to pick a specific department. Notice here it's a buy-side contract request that we're doing. That's the template. But if I go ahead and change the department to my department that I set up, well, it's going to change to the simple contract request. So based upon commodity or any other drivers you might have, that'll drive the user, and there might be more than one choice down here. Is it an NDA? And, well, is it our information or their information we need to protect? Make certain choices. But in any event, I'll just go ahead and set things up. I need a contract. I'd like for it to start on the 1st, and we'll make that the requested effective date, push the expiration date out a year, do some good contracting here. Okay, we'll say that there's a supplier we want to do business with. I'm a buyer. I just got off the phone with Apex, and they're actually going to provide some IT services. They're going to help me install something, let's say. So that's actually IT and telco. There we go. So there we go. I can just fill in some information, click Create, and now all I need to do is get an approval to move the ball forward. So let's view the details of this. So the end user needs a contract. They can just let you know when they need it by, and of course in this case I'm a buyer. I want something quick. I need this by Monday. Okay, and we can get very elaborate about the formatting on the correspondence here. I can put any additional attachments up. And notice here that the requester is going to now be, this will go into a queue, and a contract manager will then get the baton passed to them. And based upon the commodity or any other types of drivers across the different contract types, who needs to pick that baton up? Also, if the requester likes, they could just say, I want my boss to have a look at this as well. I want to just add them, and so I can just add somebody as an observer or an actual approver. Okay, so all I need to do is submit my request, and that's it. I'm done. Now, I'll head in as the more powerful legal user. I'm changing hats. I'm not the requester. Now I'm somebody who's kind of at the mothership there in the hub, and now we can see, okay, and I've received an email with a hyperlink. I've now got a new item on my dashboard to-do list showing me there's an approval request for a new contract. So right from my dashboard, I've now been passed the baton. I need to approve that request for a contract. I can head right in here. I could drill in, look at any detail, but for the sake of our demo, I'm just going to go right ahead and approve it. You're good to go. Notice as the approver, add any attachments, provide additional comments. I could even lock this down as far as who is able to access it. You can do that at the document and document version level here at Ariba. Very powerful stuff. Okay, so that's done. I went ahead and approved of that, and so what we can do is directly from that record, we can initiate the contracting process. right in, open up this new contract, and now we're going to set up our new IT agreement for services, let's say. Okay, so now the baton has been passed. So just to recap, a requester went in, filled in as little or as much information as you need them to, provide any documentation. That initiates workflow. This then flowed down. Somebody approved that request. They could have denied it, pushed back, had the user make changes, learn something, renegotiate, whatever might need to occur. But we approved the request, and now we need to go ahead and put a new agreement in place. So I'm going to do a new IT agreement here. Notice the different options that I have down below. Clause-based contract assembly. I can upload vendor paper, or just go with the traditional workspace, which is where the documents and workflow are all set up for me. Now, since I'm a more powerful user, I've got more ad hoc capability. So what I'm going to do first is stick with the more straightforward templating, if you will. Well, let's give the contract a value of, let's say $1 million, okay? Now, these are your choices, and in this case, when I say your choices, your different types of contracts that drive the different templates and content, and then ask the questions, the more business type of questions to the end user. So, and these might have been posed to the requester as well. So you choose where and when the information is captured. In this case, if I choose our standard IT services agreement, what are you buying? It asks me. And so if I explain that it's software, well, do you need specific services to support the software? A new question has been spawned as a result of how I answer previous questions. If I say it's for equipment installation, I no longer have the software question. Are we going to resell? Does it have to do with a government contract? I'm just going to leave this as equipment installation. Answer no. The answers to these questions that are answered by either the requester, the approver, or either that or corrected by the approver, these will drive workflow as needed. They will include or omit approvers, create the appropriate documents and supporting documents, as well as manage their content, including omitting or substituting specific clauses or phrases as needed. Well, let's go ahead and create our contract. Behind the scenes, the system is now shuffling the deck together, putting together the right team of people, the right workflow, and the right documentation so we can proceed. What we're looking at now is what we have affectionately dubbed the contract workspace. And this is really designed to treat your contract as a project. If you notice, we've got the overview, which includes a link directly to the parent or the request for the agreement, where all the information that came in from that procurement person, salesperson, HR person, all that was captured. The details or attributes of the contract, the workflow and tasks that are associated with it, and then finally the documents. Okay, so we're going to look at all these different areas. Well, the first thing I want to do when we start out is look at the final. I'm going to start at the end, really, and look at the approval. I want to point out to you that if I go to the final approval for the agreement, we drill into that task or step, you'll see that there are two roles based upon this system's configuration that need to approve of this type of agreement. It's a buy-side agreement. We need a sourcing manager, and we need a contract approver. And once again, you can add approvers on the fly, either before, they can be the subsequent, parallel serial. Now, if I go back to that main project contract workspace, and I make a change here, I'm going to head in, edit the attributes of the contract, and tell the system that this contract is for $2,500,000. Okay? Go ahead and push that into the system. And when I do, when we look again at the approval steps, an additional step is now in here. The CFO has to approve of any contracts over $1 million. And so that task, or it might have made an adjustment to the other task. Now we need a contract approver and a CFO. This is just an example, not a limitation. There's a lot more you're going to be able to do with the workflow here, but just to show you how that gets invoked. Notice also there are 3 documents. We've got the purchase agreement, the master, and then a couple of schedules going on here. Now, if I were to go in and edit the overview of this agreement and go into the template questions themselves, perhaps the requester answered the questions in a certain way, and now I, as the approver, need to say, wait up, we are going to resell these. Change that no to a yes. This does involve potential resell through a channel. Well, now a reseller addendum, a new document has been added. So notice how the different changes to what's going on in the data can impact the workflow, the documents, and the content within the documents. And we'll see further how changes to the documents will invoke changes to the workflow. In any event, we arrive here at a process. We need to assign some team members and prepare a draft agreement, our workflow tells us. Well, let's just assume we're happy with the team of folks that we have, and the system, based upon the answers to questions and all, and then the type of contract, will get the right stakeholders involved. An IT agreement, is there a certain person that needs to at least have visibility to this or be pulled in as a reviewer approver? Let's get into the document aspects of the solution. So if we head in, this is really what we're talking about here. This is the focus of it, the master agreement itself. And so if I drill in and look at the details of that specific document, we'll be greeted by the actual clause-level chunks that are assembled to create sections, which are further assembled to create the contract. Now, on an ad hoc basis, I could actually go in, make edits. I could substitute with a clause in the clause library. I can go ahead and add new clauses and sections, work with things like my document properties. So you've got a lot of control over what's going on in Word directly from here. Also, I can drill right into the clause library. These icons are telling me that, well, there's an alternate clause available for rates, invoicing, and payment. And we can even provide information, some tooltips around when to use these negotiation strategies. If I click on the alternate clause, it will open up and thumb right through the clause library, open up the page directly to that clause, and I'm going to say, I want to go with this alternate clause. So I can select the alternate, click OK, and that's going to drive that directly into the solution. Now we see that one is coming from the library. We can also filter and just look for that or other types of terms as we embark in the negotiation. Okay. We can also do some dragging and dropping. You choose where the clauses go, especially if you're doing a little bit of ad hocing. But I, for one, I've been involved in some contract negotiation in my business past. I like to see the document. Hand me the pen. So I'm going to go ahead and open this document up. So I click on the document itself, and the system will now reach out, grab all the clauses, assemble them into a clean version for my user, and download that right to my desktop. You should be seeing the Word document come up now. Notice these specific elements that are highlighted. Company name, address, line 1, 2, effective and expiration dates. Those are highlighted strictly for demonstrative purposes, so you can see that the data that the user pushed in was actually, now we're tracking that as metadata, but it's also text. If those get changed during negotiation, there will be a reconciliation back to the metadata. So you're sure whatever you sign off on is your final Word doc, that's the data that you're going to track and manage. Well, I like to work in Word, so if I make a change in Word, I'm going to change 5 days to 10 days here on delivery of the software. As a user, I don't need to say file and then save as and remember where I saved this and then load it up to the system. Rather, all I need to do is click Save, close the document, and the system will detect the change. It tells me instantly, you've made changes to that document. What would you like to do? I'll go ahead and update with my changes. Now the system will show us the difference in the version that I just created, give us a chance to enter any comments about that change, and capture with a very nice audit trail exactly what's going on. So in this version, we've actually changed one term to an alternate from the library, and we've also we've made a modification, an ad hoc modification. So I'm just going to call this my final internal draft. Now, if I made a modification to a term that had approvals associated with it, I would not be able to proceed unless that term was approved, or perhaps I would need for that to be approved at the end game. That's the final approval step. So you choose, when things are going to be required to be approved, whether that's pre-release to the other party. I'll notice here I can also add some comments about the clause. Go ahead and save. Okay, there we go. Now, if I were to go ahead and generate this document, if I go ahead and click on the Word doc again, and we pull this right down to the user's desktop, now we're going to be able to see. Let me just give a moment for that to come up on your screens. Now we've got a red line view because this is our internal view. Okay, and there we've got red lines for our substituted terms. I'm going to close that up, and we're going to embark on negotiation. So let's go back to the main record. So again, contract was requested. That request was approved. Internally, somebody grabbed the ball, set up a contract on our standard paper, made a little modification from the library, then made a manual change, and now we're going to go ahead and release this to the counterparty to negotiate. So we'll go directly into our negotiation step. And I'm going to send this to Phineas J. Whoopi, my fictitious counterparty, and tell him to please review the agreement. Okay, so you can very easily submit this. Now, you can also have your counterparty log into an Ariba interface to pick up the contract and manage different versions, but we do find the majority of our customers stick with the Word negotiation functionality. Now, what I'm going to do is very quickly just pop out of the solution and into my Gmail, and I should have received a negotiation message as the counterparty. There we go, document review. Just give this a moment to catch up with your screens. And so the Ariba system emailed the counterparty externally. You can see I'm just picking this up in my Gmail. I can go ahead, download that contract as the counterparty, work in Word, and perhaps as the counterparty, I'm going to go ahead and make a change to, I'm the supplier in this case, so I'm going to make a change to supplier's intellectual property indemnity. Procure for, let's remove and its customers. There we go. And now I'm just going to save this. So again, I'm the counterparty now. I then send this back to you. And when I do, when I attach it to that email, when I reply to this email, and you can give a little instruction to the supplier or whoever the counterparty is, use this, make sure you reply to this email, leave the content below. There is actually a reference link so that when you get it back, you'll click that link. It'll take you directly back to that negotiation within the system. Okay? So supplier sends it back to me. I drill into that negotiation step, and it's got some different buttons. I can attach their counterproposal, initiate a new round, accept their counterproposal. And so in this case, I might not be sure what this means. So this allows me to upload the changed documents. These little tooltips can be modified, added as needed. Now, if we attach their counterproposal, we'll go ahead and browse for the document, and we'll look for the contract that we just changed. There we go. Browse for the file that you sent me back. Click OK, and so now I'm the buyer, and it's hey, this is a different file name. Are you okay with that? And, well, yeah, that's fine. Click OK, and it shows me that there's a change. Let's review the change. So I get that document back, negotiated. I don't need to worry about, forcing a Microsoft Word compare. Did they, and even if that counterparty accepts all changes at their end, the system will catch it at our end. So now we can see that change, and now perhaps we want to actually accept that change, so we can just click Save, and then Close, and the system will then prompt me, save this as yet another version, which I will do now. Update with my changes. The system is, in fact, doing a character-to-character compare, keeping a complete history of everything that's going on. And I'm just going to say that this is the final supplier version. We can see what's been changed. It's non-standard. We could easily drill into that, provide any comments around it. And then there we go. And so now, if we head back to our main overview, something that's very key here I'd like to point out, that final approval step, you can see we're finishing up our negotiation, but if we take a look at that final approval step and view the details of it, now the legal group is involved because of a specific clause being changed. When I made a change to that last piece of language, that now got legal on the radar, and legal will need to approve because of the change the supplier made. So this started off only needing the contract approver and sourcing manager. Then we needed a whole new step for the CIO for a very large deal, the CFO rather, and now the legal group is needed. And again, I might just want to add somebody into the flow, and I can do that very easy. Just go ahead and add myself. And I might go in as either a watcher or an approver. I'm going to say I'm not required. I just need Adam to watch. And now check it out. Now Adam's going to be observing this entire flow, and I could add other folks as needed ad hoc to the workflows. And so once that is approved and finalized and set in place, we can always get a look at the details of what's occurred during negotiation. We can go back to our version history against each of our individual documents and look at all of the changes, understand the comments, what has occurred as far as those changes go. And so at this point, if I want to do a comparison of one version to another version, very easy to do so by utilizing the system. And I can see that this was actually edited, this was moved, this was the little drag and drop I did. I actually forgot about that. Did you? Well, the system didn't. So we've got a non-standard term modified by the counterparty, a template term that wasn't modified, yet it was moved, another library term, or we could invoke the comparison right in Microsoft Word. And here we can choose the compare from and to versions. So very, very powerful functionality to manage the entire cycle. Now, I mentioned in some cases you might want to start off and have that genesis be just doing some drag and drop from the clause library or uploading counterparty paper. So I'm just going to kick off another contract very quickly here. Sample for counterparty paper. I'm actually going to start off and do one based upon the clause-based creation, just to give you a feeling for that. And I'm going to make this a test project, and as soon as I say it's the Adam Lustig department, I should get my clause-based assembly. And so this will give me a whole different way to initiate things. So I want to kick things off. I'm a more professional, seasoned legal user. I want to head in and actually create a contract directly from the clauses or documents in my clause library. And so this is going to kick off a different process flow. And now, I'm not going to get into all the process. You can see there's a completely different workflow going on here. But what I can do is head directly in, and it's actually going to start off, in this case it gives me a placeholder, get into the details of that document, and now I can go right ahead, and this basically just gives me signature blocks and an opening. I choose everything that's going to go within it. I can just go ahead, add new clauses, head into our clause library, and I'm going to go ahead and add ownership of data, compliance with law. I'm just going to add a few clauses in here, a preferred clause for confidentiality. Go ahead and click OK. Or notice I could create a custom clause on the fly as needed, or add or load clauses in. And so now, and here this is my signature block, so I'm probably going to need to want to move that down, and this will probably want to make that my first term. Okay, and so now, and I could just keep on adding terms, and I might need, if it's a more complex contract type, I might want to do some ad hocing and just, ad hoc work from scratch, so I could actually get in and edit at the clause level. So I just click to the right of this individual clause. I choose to edit that, and notice it's going to pull down that clause as an actual Word document to my desktop where I can work on it, or I can just work within the system itself. And so here I might want to say that Ariba with its principal place of business at. Just go ahead and save that and close it, and now we've got an actual change to that term, and then we can go ahead and update that as we would. Now, so very easy to work directly from the clause library. And let's ignore that. It wants me to update with my changes. What if we got a document from the other party? So let me just go ahead and swap this out for a document that somebody sent me. So I've got a Word doc. It's an NDA sitting on my desktop. So I'll just go ahead and replace this clause-based document with my NDA template. So let me just drill in quickly and grab my mutual non-disclosure agreement we got from the other party. And we're going to go ahead and replace that and tell the system that we actually want to replace the document by the file I'm uploading. And now the system is going to grab that third-party paper and parse it into chunks itself. It's actually, this is the document that you're seeing. The system is processing. It's giving us a couple of warnings here about some bookmarks in the document, just a little formatting, but that's okay. The system will still chug along. And now it has taken that document, processed it, and now we've got all the clause-level chunks that we need to. And, you know, I mentioned the system is very adept not only at all this process management, but ad hoc as well. I could just grab that document and send it to somebody for review, just create a quick ad hoc review step. Please review, choose who I would like to review it. Who I might want to have as a watcher, and then just go ahead and submit that step. Okay, so a lot of power, a lot of flexibility there. Before we conclude, I want to make sure that I take a moment to show you our clause-based, rather the PDF generation and e-signature functionality. So very quickly, just going to change over. I actually need to quickly log into a different system to show you the e-signature functionality. Okay. You should see your screen changing up momentarily. And so now what I'm going to do is just head over very quickly to a specific contract that's already been finalized, but I just need to go ahead and assemble the final PDF. So I'll head directly into that particular contract. Of course, it wants me to sync my files, my documents. Now, you can see here, within this system, I've got PDF generation turned on as well as e-signature. So we've got some additional tasks here. One, to generate our PDF. And notice it has some functions to open that assembled PDF, and the e-signature step, which has a lot of automation. We'll see that in just a moment. So, to give a bit of an idea how this works, any documents, and you saw we had that master and a couple of schedules, other types of documents. In this case, I've actually got an Excel spreadsheet with some Ariba downstream contract terms to manage some contract compliance from. I can grab that document, that Excel document, and also include it in the PDF generation. And I'd actually like it to be the last document. And so depending upon the order of the documents, and this master, this is a large document, so notice my finalized document header. Anything that I drag within or below is going within that potentially generated PDF. I'm going to take the larger file out, and so it'll still exist only once up above, but it is no longer represented within the PDF. So you've got drag and drop capability for the PDF, and then I could just choose to go ahead and generate the PDF from here. And now it's going to take my Schedule A, Schedule B, as well as my sample Excel spreadsheet and put them all together into one. Now, if I look at the details of that finalized documents PDF folder. This is where we could also go ahead and add documents manually. We can choose the ordering. Okay, we can head to the overview for this specific PDF and see the tasks that are associated with it. So it takes on its own life within the system. Workflow can be tied to it so that somebody, once the contract is finalized, we know we need to initiate the actual process itself. And let's see if that's actually been generated. There we go. Now it's in draft status, and we've got a message. It's letting us know that the generation attempt resulted in a PDF being generated, and we've actually got some font issues. As you know, when you go from different formats into PDF, sometimes the fonts can get skewed, so it's giving us a message, a warning to take a look at that. Now, if I go ahead and open that up, I actually want to download the draft, pull that right down to my desktop, and this is my Schedule A. And notice this is Adobe Reader opening up. Here's my Schedule B and the spreadsheet content, all of which downloaded into the PDF, and the PDF is also text searchable. Okay. Now, I'm going to close that up. Let's go ahead and get this signed. We have finalized our agreement. We're done negotiating. We've locked it into a PDF. Let's send it to the counterparty for electronic signature utilizing Ariba. So let's go to the details for our e-signature task. Oh, we do need to publish our PDF first. The weakest link is always the user. So let's go ahead and publish that document, make it official. Now we can head into our e-signature task, get into the details, select who I would like to sign it. I'm going to choose my other friend, my friendly counterparty, Bartholomew here, and I can add a signer on the fly or choose a new email signer. Very easy to set that up, but I already have an existing counterparty out there that I want to point it to. Tell them to please sign the document. I will go ahead and submit that. And Bartholomew also has a Gmail address, it just so happens. So now that I've initiated the signature process, we can see that that's an outstanding step. I'm just going to quickly head into my email again. And now we can see the counterparty received a request, signature for the final documents. And through our partner DocuSign, this is all quite audited, regulated, and considered a legally admissible signature. You don't need to preserve all of the paper from now on. Here, I can just click to sign the documents. This can be done very easily on a one-off basis, or they can go ahead and set themselves up as you can with an account within the system, which I have taken the time to do, of course. And so now I'm logging in as the counterparty to go ahead and sign. So they can just do this very easily, once and one time only, and authenticate. Okay, now I'm getting some instructions. You've been asked to sign this document. Now I'll continue. I can review the document in total. It tells me to start here. And I can go ahead and sign right here. I can read what I'm signing first if I like. So here's that generated PDF, complete with the Excel information. I can go ahead, click to sign it here, complete signing. And we're done. Now, your counterparties, as well as you, will have the ability to access these documents. I've actually created a bit of folder hierarchy where I can see the different documents that have been signed. And now that I completed that, and I did actually sign the document, if we head back in to Ariba, we're no longer the counterparty. Now we're back to the negotiation side from your perspective. If I head in and view the task details, I think it hasn't quite caught up yet. Just give it a sec to refresh in the system. Yeah, it is completed. Let's just jump out of the record and then jump back in. I just want to show, I feel like I loaded up the bases, but I've still yet to hit that home run. So if I just head back into that example, well, I guess it takes a couple of minutes in order for that to get pushed on through. However, what will occur is the task itself within Ariba will be modified to show through integration that the document was in fact executed by the counterparty. I think it just takes a few minutes to catch up. Of course, in the demonstration mode, we want to see everything instantaneously. However, it does take a few minutes, but there is an integrated push from DocuSign. As soon as that person places their e-signature on the document, it will go ahead and update the solution for you. Okay? So that concludes the presentation. I hope this was informative. I want to thank everybody for their valuable time and interest, and look forward to possibly answering any questions for you. Thanks, and have a great day.
The moderator has disconnected.